Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this month. And this is going to be the overview for August 2025 and what you guys need to know about the month ahead. Consider this your cosmic monthly pep talk. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave me a comment below and let me know how you guys are feeling in the month of August. Don't forget to also, share some feedback. We're creating new content on the channel, so kind of breaking things up a little bit. If you guys haven't already seen your August horoscopes, check them out for the 12 rising signs. This is going to be kind of like the companion video to talk more about the energies for everybody generally and collectively. So we're going to be diving into the astrology of August. This is a month that's bringing some rather bold and transformative energy. Honestly, it's pretty electric in my opinion. I would think of this month as kind of like a cosmic playbook that's going to be filled with some plot twists. Obviously, lots of fresh starts and moments for pause and reflection. So whether you're like a Leo that's craving a little bit more of the spotlight or a Taurus who's looking for some grounding, August has something in store for everyone. So go ahead and grab your charts, get cozy, grab a drink or a snack. We're going to unpack the major transits, the vibes, and also how to navigate August for the month ahead. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So a little bit of a different format. I wanted to actually incorporate more tarot, and I pulled a spread to get some insight for the energies of August. So I did a 3-card spread. First card is going to be more kind of past what we were dealing with last month in July. The current card is going to be the second card, just the energies for the month. And then the third card is going to talk about what the end of August is going to be bringing us. So the first card that I got actually was the Star card, and the Star card came up reversed. Obviously, this is a major arcana card, so it's important. And the Star card really is about reflecting, especially in its reversal position, on a period, I think, of like doubt. Okay, doubt, disconnection, and we have been kind of dealing with that in July going into August. Now, collectively, we may have been kind of grappling with like a lack of faith, maybe a lack of clarity. Perhaps also we've been feeling lost in a rather challenging kind of like cycle. So you know that this is the card that deals with Aquarius, but it's also about the collective. So everybody's been kind of feeling the bumps and bruises. Obviously, this does deal with Aquarius, and Pluto is in Aquarius, it's retrograde. And we've seen oppositions from Mercury and the Sun to Pluto. So there's been a lot of power struggles and things kind of going on. So I think this also kind of aligns a little bit with kind of the jump off of the Mercury retrograde in Leo, which started in late July. And this has really been stirring up some confusion or some doubt about how to express ourselves, how to be able to better connect with other people. And maybe it's been like the universe has kind of like dimmed the lights a little bit and making it hard to see the path forward. So we've been going into kind of August a little kind of unsure about what the month is going to bring. So I do think that this represents collectively that the energy has been working through a healing phase, and that maybe we've been kind of rediscovering hope or trying to find some sense of hope during some tough moments. Certainly July was not for the weak. Now, the current card that we get, the second card, represents what August is going to be teaching us, what it's going to be bringing. This is the current energy. And we get the Chariot card. So this is another major arcana card versus, the Star card, which is more Aquarius. This is a card that deals with Cancer. So it's possible that Cancer and Aquarius placements are really going to be feeling the changes and the shifts this month in August. Now, the Chariot upright is a very powerful card. I do think that this is about kind of embodying determination, focus, and obviously forward momentum. And so this does kind of talk about moving forward from some of the challenges that we had during Cancer season. Now, it is possible that this card might resonate with some of the transits that are going to be happening this month. We've got Mars in Libra, so obviously this is going to be taking action in regards to relationships. We've also got a Virgo New Moon, which is going to be pushing towards more balance and dedication, practical progress, right? Getting our ducks in a row, getting everything in line. We know with the Chariot card, we need to be careful because we need to make sure that all of our horses are steady, that things are not chaotic. We have a plan, we know where we're going, and also we're listening to our inner guidance and intuition to get to where we need to go. So collectively, we're kind of being asked to take the reins, right, a little bit in August and maybe harness our willpower in a different way so we can move forward with our goals so we can have more confidence. However, the Chariot does hint and it does suggest that there is a need to balance opposing forces. And we've been dealing with that a lot during the Leo season, the beginning of Leo season, the oppositions to Pluto. So this can mean that we're kind of dealing with the, Leo and Virgo energy, where Leo is bold self-expression. It's dynamic, it's creative, it's romantic, versus Virgo season, which we're going to see later in the month, which is much more kind of grounded. It's much more practical. There is like a sense of being a little bit more cautious and making sure you're checking off all of your to-dos. So August is going to be about kind of steering through challenges with purpose and staying course. It's also possible many people are going to be making plans that involve family travels, things that are connected to transportation, moving, right? Relocating. These can be things that are coming up for people. And obviously trying to stay the course. And then we get to the final card, which is the outcome card. So this is what the reality should be closer to the end of August and what we're all going to be receiving. 10 of Cups. I was very relieved to see that card. Obviously, 10s are great because they do represent kind of a completion of a cycle. It does represent kind of closing something out. Cups deals with emotions. So if we think about the 10 of Cups, this is a beautiful card. This is a card that's about emotional fulfillment. It's also about community, harmony, and guidance. So versus the early card, the Star card reverse, where we're feeling a little disjointed with our collective communities, our friends, our associations, or even our goals. By the end of the month, some of the chaos makes sense. It's helped us kind of get on track and in alignment with the Chariot. And then we get the 10 of Cups, which means that, basically we're going to feel fulfilled, emotionally fulfilled, a lot more joy and a lot better relationships. So the guidance really aligns perfect. I think also when I think about August, we're going to see like Jupiter coming into conjunction with Venus. That could be wonderful. That'll be right around the 11th of the month. And we're also going to be seeing an Aquarius full moon that's also going to be putting a focus on collective connection. So this could be family gatherings, parties. Full moon in Aquarius is always like party time during the summertime, people kind of getting together. And it can really be emphasizing for a lot of us that this is a month where we're going to be really prioritizing joy, relationships, and also a sense of belonging. So the collective is really being kind of encouraged to lean into love, celebration, right? Shared victories, creating moments of connection with other people, whether that's family or friends or your community. This card really reminds us that success in August isn't just about personal wins. It's about really creating happiness together. All right. So that's what the cards have to say for the month ahead. We will see what manifests. Definitely check back in at the end of the month. Leave me comments. I'd love to hear how this manifests for you guys. Now I'm going to break this down into some of the most important transits that are going to be taking place for the month ahead. I'm going to kind of look at it weekly by weekly. So before I get into that, I want to talk more about the bigger picture. So if we kind of get the lay of the land of August, August 2025 is a month of a bit of contrast, okay? We've seen that through, Mercury retrograde in opposition to Pluto, the sun coming into an opposition to Pluto. We are going to be seeing that it's a bit fiery because it's a Leo season, but it's also reflective because we are experiencing quite a number of retrogrades. It's bold, and then as we get to the end of the month, it's going to shift into much more of kind of like a practical type of vibe. So we're starting with Mercury retrograde right at the top of the month. You guys have been experiencing really the Mercury pre-shadow since the end of June. So, all of July, we've been kind of feeling that Mercury retrograde energy, even though it didn't kick in until about mid-month. We will continue to see Mercury retrograde in this sign. And essentially, this is like the universe saying like, hey, let's rethink how we're creating, right? Our joy, our relationships with children, with younger people, romantic partners, and also rethink how we're shining, how we are expressing ourselves. After that, we've got this very powerful, obviously, full moon in Aquarius. So that's going to be really interesting. Obviously, now that we have Uranus in Gemini, you will actually see in the first half of August, there is going to be a grand air trine. We're going to see Mars in Libra heating up relationships, trining Uranus in obviously in Gemini, enhancing communication, travel and learning, trining Pluto in Aquarius. So really social energy is great for communication and connecting. And then we're also going to see the first of what will be 2 Virgo new moons. So the second one, by the way, is going to be the solar eclipse that will be taking place at the end of September next month. But still, new moons represent new opportunities. Obviously, the universe wants to give us a double dose of kind of getting down to the nitty gritty, getting organized, focusing on our health, our habits, making sense of what needs to change, and getting things in order. So if you happen to have anything around, I would say 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, 29 degrees of the mutable signs, 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, you guys are going to be feeling that. as well as anybody who's got anything around that like 0 to 1 degree of Virgo. So the new moon this month is going to be particularly for the early degrees of Virgo. Next month, you guys are going to be feeling it, the later degrees of Virgo. We'll cover that in September's monthly. But 2 new moons, wow. So 0 degrees represents kind of the beginning of something that's being seeded. So it's kind of interesting that it's happening during a new moon. And it's going to be like the kind of like rawest version of that particular energy. So you really want to look at where Virgo is in your chart. This is an area where Mars has been moving through there. We've been seeing some kind of like heat in action and kind of cutting things out. The South Node's been going through there, so we're reminded of the past and we're dealing with past patterns. Now we're going to have this new moon come in, which is going to be quite colorful. We're going to see a square to Uranus and a lot of other things going on. So make sure you're subscribed. We'll be kind of talking about the Virgo new moon as we get closer. Now, I really feel like the overall vibe of August is basically like this cosmic dance. We're seeing a dance between self-expression and collaboration, all this kind of like Aquarius Leo energy, between big dreams, making them happen, and the practical steps that we need to take to get there. So it's a month of really kind of balancing that inner fire with some kind of cool-headed strategy, especially as we're seeing Mars in opposition to Saturn. I think we're going to get tested a little bit to kind of keep our cool. We're being asked to revisit old stories, especially around how we show up in the world and really planting seeds for new beginnings that feel more so true to who we actually are. So I'm not here to like throw too much astrological jargon at you. We'll break this down transit by transit so we can kind of navigate the month with a little bit more confidence. So we're going to start first with early August, okay? So what's happening in early August that you need to know about is that we're still in the Mercury retrograde. We are also going to have the first quarter moon. So when we kick off the beginning of the month, Mercury going retrograde, it's going to be running until about August 11th. It's been happening since late July. I know Mercury retrograde gets a bit of a bad rap, but this one in Leo is in a sign of creativity. It's in a sign of confidence, and it's also about heart-centered expression. So it's trying to get us to make more time for hobbies, creative projects, dating, having fun, right? Spending time with our kids, all of that stuff. And I think that the universe is a way of kind of holding up a mirror and really asking us like, okay, are you actually owning your own happiness, your own joy? Are you owning your own light? Or are you dimming it for other people? Are you watering yourself down, right? And so with some of the oppositions that we've seen to Pluto, that's definitely been a theme. Obviously, Mercury retrograde can screw up plans. We can have delays in, signing contracts. We could have the details kind of fall apart. We might miss important communication, delays that can kind of happen across the board, and things can break down. But by the time you guys are watching this video, we're actually having the Cazimi. So if you're watching this at the end of July, this is the turning point. This is the halfway point through the Mercury retrograde. So we're kind of getting our groove. We're figuring out, actually, this is what we tweak. This is what we change. I love Mercury retrograde. They're like cleaning out the fridge. It's like something you have to do to make sure that everything isn't expired, it's organized, it's clean, we know where it is, and we know exactly what we need to replace. So I really think this is a perfect time to be rethinking your passions, right? Obviously, it's created some drama in the romance department for a lot of people. But I think creatively speaking and like a more heart-centered way, if you've been holding back on a creative idea, or maybe, you've been a little too extra in a situation and you need to chill a little bit, expect that this is the time to kind of make those course corrections. And if there have been some miscommunications, especially in the first week of August, double check your text or emails, anything that you're signing, and watch out for dramatic DMs, before you hit send. Now, on August 1st, we are going to see that the month kicks off with a first quarter square. So this is actually going to be when the moon is coming into an opening square with the sun. So this is like the first checkpoint since the most recent new moon that we had in Leo, which was very powerful. I'm sure you guys saw that video. So when we have the first quarter square, this is like crisis in action. This is where now we're kind of reflecting on the goals that we set during that new moon, and we're kind of reevaluating and assessing, okay, how are we faring? Full disclosure, fixed signs don't like to change, right? They're a little stubborn. They like to kind of stay in their own zone. So not only are we going to see the moon come into a square with the sun and Mercury, we're also going to be seeing the moon come into a square with Pluto. Makes things definitely a little prickly. I do feel like it's rather intense. Scorpio moons, obviously, this is a 2.5 day period where things are very deep. It's about emotional, the emotional side of life. It can also be about kind of purging and clearing things out. It's also about mystery. While the sun in Leo is about bold self-expression. So this square out in the world can create tension. We can see financial tension. We can also see that it feels like a bit of a tug of war between keeping things private, kind of concealed behind the scenes, versus wanting to kind of shout your truth from the rooftops. So likely we will see a little bit of drama. On this day, we are also going to see Venus come into a square with Saturn. So the first things first is do not let August 1st dictate or determine how you view the rest of the month is going to go, okay? Because it is going to feel like it's a little rocky. Venus wants love, pleasure, beauty, and relationships. In the sign of Cancer, it really wants to feel safe and like secure, and it wants to feel like it's at home or at ease. So as it's squaring Saturn and Neptune, we're going to see that actually things aren't quite hitting the spot, right? This can be a difficult day for home and family relationships, a difficult day also for moving, for, property or anything revolving around buying or selling homes. And likely with Venus square Saturn, we're going to see setbacks or delays in relationships. And with Venus coming into a square with Neptune the same day, there's going to be some illusions, or we're going to feel like we've been deceived, or that we're not actually getting what we thought we were going to get. So be mindful. August 1st is like a little bit of throwing a little bit of us for a loop, but I feel like it's not going to dictate how the rest of the month is going to go. I think to really navigate the first bit of August, lean into what comes up for you with that first quarter square. Scorpio wants depth. So like journaling, meditating, having a heart-to-heart with somebody that you trust, anything that's going to be about kind of dealing with the shadow side of what's coming up at the beginning of the month is beneficial. Maybe ask yourself, like, what are you afraid of, right? What's holding you back from being kind of more authentic? And it's a great time to release old fears, step into your power, even if it feels raw. Remind yourself that you've got this, right? Now, as we move into mid-August, we're going to be seeing that things get a little spicy. So part of the reason is on the 6th, we are going to see the Mars in Libra transit. So, Mars does not fare well in this sign, kids. This is a planet that wants action. It wants to get from point A to point B. It wants speed. It wants to be the first, and it's not afraid to kind of fight to get there. So when it goes through Libra, a sign that's ruled by Venus, it's debilitated. We see that it can be imbalanced, right? It can also be a little passive aggressive. There could be more tension or conflict in relationships, partnerships with clients. We can also find that there is this drive or this push to take action. Libra can be about confronting people. It can be about relationships. It can be about also separations, because Mars can kind of cut and sever. So not only does Mars move into this sign where it can create a little bit of tension in relationships, but right off the bat, you're going to start seeing Mars come into an opposition with Saturn in Aries, which is retrograde. Remember, Mars rules. It's the dispositor of anything in Aries. So Chiron, self-healing, right? Neptune, which is self-delusions. Saturn, which is going to be about restrictions, personal restrictions and limitations. We are going to become acutely aware of who is in our corner, who we need to be working with, which coaches, which astrologers, which therapists, which business partners, which romantic partners are actually going to help us become the best version of ourselves. That's the positive of this. The negative is that we are going to see a lot of conflict in relationships, and we are going to find that certain people are actually breaking away, cutting, or severing from certain individuals, or they're going to say, actually, this relationship is not serving me. I have kind of stood by. I haven't done anything. Now I'm becoming more aware of it. And relationship problems can kind of act up. So if you're not aware of it, you will become acutely aware of some of these issues. Mars-Saturn oppositions are not fun. So we do see out in the world that there are things that break down. And in particular, Mars in Libra is going to be about matters of diplomacy, legal matters, things kind of connecting to the courts. While Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries is really reflecting, where there is this moment of reflecting on, who am I? What am I capable of doing? Do I have any freedom? Do I have any rights? What can I do about it? And kind of sometimes feeling like a bit of like a victim. But some of the stuff that gets kind of kicked up in relationships is going to get kicked up to see if you're actually going to step up to the plate, learn how to deal with things diplomatically, maybe not just cut and run in relationships, learn how to do the work, even if that means that we're getting a little bit of criticism, from the people who are closest to us. So obviously Mars in Libra, this is a sign that's about relationships and harmony and fairness. But when you got a planet that deals with action and drive, it's going to be less it's going to feel more like there is like all is fair in love and war. Like we can negotiate, but some things are not going to be negotiable. And we can't just charm our way out of things like we typically would. However, on the other side, some people will benefit from this because it can be really good for collaborating. And like, if we're feeling stuck or blocked, the right people can show up into our life that can kind of help push us forward. So it's great to be working with like therapists, astrologers, coaches, people who can really be encouraging us to kind of get out of our past patterns. And it can be really great for collaborating. Just watch out for like the passive aggressive vibes if you're not clear about what you want. My thought is that, with, the opposition, which is particularly gnarly, pretty much the 6th all the way through about the 9th. The way that you want to get out of that is you actually want to lean more into Mars and Libra, Trine, Uranus, and Gemini, which is basically saying showing up in relationships, doing the work, being diplomatic, collaborating, also meeting people halfway, learning how to communicate in a different way, right? Uranus and Gemini. Reading books, taking short trips, having, moments where we can journal or we can reflect on what's going on in relationships. And this is also very social. And then we've got Mars that's coming into a trine with Pluto. So very big energies going on with the outer planets. Mars trine Pluto is a lot of intensity. It's a lot of power. It's about taking action in relationships and being able to kind of achieve our dreams, Pluto and Aquarius, and collectively where we can have change if we're actually stepping up to the plate and we're being a team player or we are making alliances with people and communicating better to be able to get to where we need to go. So that's going to be the way out of it. Now, the exact opposition between Mars and Saturn is going to be on the 8th of August. So let's go ahead and scan forward to that. And that'll be at 1 degree. So if you happen to have anything 0 to about 3 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, you've been forewarned. This is going to be rather intense for a couple days. Mars is heat, it's speed, right? And it can also be sometimes damage. And then we've got, Saturn, which could represent structure or things that are breaking down. We've got Neptune, which can also represent water. So anything revolving around like relationships, we can see a lot of like domestic violence issues, unfortunately, with some of these aspects. We can also see that some people are, taking action and cutting or severing relationships as a result of people being less than honest or hiding things. Certainly Saturn Neptune retrograde is really kind of revealing where individuals have been having problems, and whether that's keeping secrets, having psychological issues, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, all of that stuff can be very Saturn Neptune. And now people are becoming aware of, wow, your lack of self-awareness or your lack of transparency or honesty or care for yourself is actually creating all these little mini wars in our relationship. And so now people are going to do something about it. Think of Saturn in Aries, which is also debilitated, by the way, like a strict coach. And it's really kind of pushing us to take responsibility for our goals. While Mars in Libra wants us, to kind of keep things diplomatic. So I think we're going to be feeling very torn between going after what we want and also kind of keeping the peace. And certainly there can be more tension and a lot more friction, or people who are going to be a lot more critical of relationships and partners. My advice is we want to set boundaries with kindness if at all possible. We just don't want to shy away from standing our ground. And something that I have been kind of thinking about is just the synchronicity of some of the transits that are happening, right? The opposition is taking place at the time of the full moon in Aquarius. And we're going to have Mars trine Uranus and Pluto. So that's a lot of like, can we talk our way through it? Can we get support from friends? Do we have networks and allies? And while Mars is moving through Libra, it is being ruled by Venus in Cancer, which is approaching a conjunction to Jupiter. So a lot of people are going to be quite literally, like separating, moving, right? Because Venus, the dispositor of Mars, which is cutting relationships, is in the sign of home, conjunct Jupiter, where family support is so important, where having, a close-knit group of people that are friends or family, a safe place that we can call home, going back to a hometown, something like that, where we're going to receive support and kind of nurturing. Cancer isn't just about home, it's about the ends of situations. So it's also kind of saying that in the midst of some of these kind of relationship dynamics that are changing, it can actually create a lot of changes in regards to our home and family relationships, which in turn can be a result of like people moving, selling houses, buying houses, making changes, maybe having to kind of separate or take time away from somebody because we have to go home or we have to kind of care for a parent or be there for a family member. So It's a lot. I think that the full moon on the 9th, let's move forward a little bit here. So that's going to be here, first thing in the morning. I'm on Central Time, so we'll have the full moon on the 9th. We'll be at 16 degrees of Aquarius, all right? And so the full moon we have every month, sun and moon make an opposition to each other. Obviously, it illuminates something. The ruler is Uranus, and we see that Mars, Pluto, Uranus, Trine, which I like. We also see Saturn, the traditional ruler of Aquarius, sextile Uranus. What isn't fun is like the Mars opposition, which is kind of, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, it's kind of hanging around. So this is, I think, a rather big full moon. We see a return of, Mercury. Mercury is stationing. It's getting ready to go direct just a couple days later, I believe on the 11th. And Mercury is back in its opposition to Pluto, which is very intense in terms of communication. We've seen since the end of June lots of drama in Hollywood, lots of drama revolving around, romantic relationships, children, drama also revolving around people dying, right? Mercury's been in opposition to Pluto. We lost several celebrities in this cycle. I was anticipating one, but the Mercury-Pluto opposition was at a 2. So I know we lost Ozzy Osbourne, we lost Hulk Hogan. I know there was like 2 other people, I can't remember who it was, but we lost a couple of different people during the cycle. So maybe this can be like that conclusion of groups and people coming together, mourning and kind of celebrating some of these people because of the Pluto aspect. But also I think that this is like a very, very social full moon. So Aquarius, right, 11th sign of the zodiac, ruled by traditionally by Saturn. It's an air sign. And it's known as the visionary. This is like the rebel. This is about the kind of collective dreamer. Very interesting that we got the star card reversed at the beginning of the month, which was kind of saying people were feeling disjointed. We weren't coming together. Things weren't working. We were feeling like we were kind of tending to our wounds. And the full moon is opposite the sun in Leo. So it's kind of lighting up the tension between me, right, the creator, right, the performer being on stage versus we, which is everybody else who is kind of watching or our collective groups or networks. It's a beautiful moment to celebrate the unique spark. I think we're also thinking about how you contribute to the bigger picture. And what I like about the Mars, Uranus, Pluto is that we can actually inspire other people. We can share information. We can lead others. We can socialize and also kind of stand up for like what's right. Like Libra is definitely going to be about what's just. Now, on this full moon, not only do we see Mars in opposition to Saturn, but Mars is in opposition to Neptune, which is also tricky. Neptune is foggy. Both Saturn and Neptune are retrograde, so it's not unusual for you guys to be kind of feeling a little, picking up the pieces, kind of trying to restructure things and make sense of stuff. We're going to get a brief period here in the fall where Saturn and Neptune's actually going to go back into Pisces. So think of the last couple of months as like a little sneak preview or like a trailer to what we will be dealing with in 2026 when Saturn and Neptune align. So, Neptune retrograde feels a little confusing. It can make it really difficult to take decisive action. So it can be a little bit harder to trust our intuition. And, we might not be thinking very logically for a couple of days, about a day or two. And if Mars represents where we're taking action in relationships, Saturn and Neptune can basically be saying if we turn within, right, if we focus on that retrograde energy, we can have that inner knowing. We can know whether or not we should walk up to that person and ask them for their number, right? Or if it is time to kind of check in with a therapist, or maybe there is a little bit too much togetherness in a relationship, so we need to kind of diffuse it a little bit and find a way to be able to kind of reorient ourselves and not be on top of each other 24/7. Now, on the 11th, we've got a triple whammy. So we are going to be seeing, let me move forward here. We're going to be seeing Mercury going direct in Leo. So that means Mercury retrograde is over. Rejoice. We still have a couple of weeks of the shadow, but technically that Mercury retrograde that's been kind of making things wonky for many of us is over. And even though Mercury is still in opposition to Pluto, where there's a lot of intense information, there's a lot of news, you're going to see a lot of news coming out during August because of Mercury's retrograde, Mercury's media, but it's going to be sudden. It's going to be like blitz and things that are kind of coming 24/7, pretty much from like the full moon, through, I would say about the 15th, there's just going to be a lot of information coming out. So Mercury goes direct. We also see Saturn in Aries forms a sextile to Uranus in Gemini. And then we're going to be seeing Venus coming into conjunction with Jupiter. I would consider all of these things favorable, right? Mercury going direct, communication improves, travel improves, we can sign contracts, we can move forward. Awesome. Also, Saturn, which represents karma, limitations, responsibility, boundaries, sextiles Uranus, which means that we can be a little bit more sensible, we can be a little bit more logical, maybe we could see a little bit more clearly or more self-aware, leading to better communication, relaying of facts, information, or news. And then obviously the long-awaited Jupiter-Venus conjunction. So in order, basically, Mercury is going to go direct and clear the fog. So communication gets clearer. We're going to feel more confident in expressing ourselves in Leo. Saturn in Aries, sextile Uranus in Gemini. It's really blending structure with innovation. And so it's going to make it great for us to kind of like maybe, take practical steps forward towards, wild new ideas or building websites or learning languages or sharing information with other people. We're going to see a little bit more clearly. And then Venus conjunct Jupiter with exalted Jupiter in Cancer, guys. Usually we only get this round about every 12 years. We get a double dose. We're going to get one this summer. We're going to get one next summer. But this is pure, heartwarming, expansive love. So this is a good day for love and money stuff. This is a good day for relationship stuff. This can be better for property and for real estate. This can also be really good for abundance. Obviously, we're looking at the moon as we look at this conjunction in Jupiter. And guess what? It's trining the moon, which is in Pisces with the North Node. So it may mean that there is an emotional clearing, or we're feeling emotionally overjoyed, or we're healed in some way, shape, or form. That can be the positive. But moon meeting the North Node means it's destiny. These are things that were supposed to kind of happen to bring us more ease, more comfort, more beauty, more love in our lives. So I definitely feel like it's a fantastic day for nurturing relationships, indulging a little bit more in self-care, and just soaking in some of like the cozy feel-good vibes of the Jupiter-Venus conjunction. To navigate mid-month, use the full moon to set intentions regarding your goals, right? Aquarius full moons are kind of like blowing out birthday cake candles, and making a wish. Maybe it's a time where you're throwing a party or you're getting involved in a community project. Anything revolving around the future is connected to the full moon in Aquarius. And we want to write about it, share about it, talk about it because of that grand air trine that you're going to be seeing. I would be asking myself, how can I shine and create, but also lift up other people along the way? Now, for the Mars transits with Mars in opposition to Saturn and Neptune, I'm going to make a completely separate video for that because I feel like everybody needs a little bit of a game plan. But I would say focus on balance, asserting yourself, but do it with grace if at all possible. Libra placements, Libra rising, suns and moons, be mindful that Mars is moving into your sign. So it's definitely going to be a little bit more action-packed for you. And if you happen to be ruled by Mars, so if you're an Aries or a Scorpio rising, your chart ruler's on the move. On the 11th, celebrate, something revolving around clarity and love being in the air. Indulge a little bit, right? Take care of yourself. Maybe pick up a nice bottle of wine, have an indulgent dinner, buy yourself a treat, do something like that, because this is a time where you're going to have some kind of goodness, and you have to see where Cancer is in your chart. That's where you're going to get a little bit of luck. Maybe call someone, you love, or treat yourself to something that feels nurturing, because this is a day to really indulge. Now, as we get to the end of the month, later in the month, from pretty much the 16th on, we are going to be seeing the last quarter moon. So August 16th, we have the moon going through Taurus, which is a great place to have the moon, beauty, resources, abundance, anything in regards to pleasure. But this is the kind of closing lunar cycle. So the last quarter moon is obviously going to be a time where we are kind of breaking things down and we are preparing for what is going to be this up and coming new moon in Virgo. Still in financial signs, still in fixed signs. So when we see both the first quarter square at the beginning of the month, the last quarter square at the end of the month, we're going to be seeing a little bit of like some turbulence possibly with the financial markets because it is happening in financial signs. With the closing cycle, this means that things are kind of getting washed out. So definitely keep an eye on the markets around this. Obviously, the Taurus moon loves stability, and Leo sun wants creativity, it wants fun, it wants drama. So there is like this push to slow down at the moon in Taurus and get real about what's actually sustainable in our lives. This is also the day that we are going to see Saturn retrograde back to 0 degrees of Aries. So now Saturn is at that 0 degree world axis point. This is where we have the very first day of spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. When planets cross that 0-degree point, usually there's some big things kind of going on in the world. So it'll be there for a couple of days. So just keep an eye on that. And in particular, if you have anything around that 0 degrees of Aries, natally, this is going to be like a fresh start. Now, I do think that with that Saturn retrograde, and it being at a significant point, this is a moment for not only fresh starts, but I think collectively we're going to be seeing that certain changes are kind of happening with leadership. Saturn in Aries can be about leadership. It can also be about military. It can be about boundaries. And likely, there's new rules, regulations, boundaries, or new kind of like relationship standings after the Mars-Saturn opposition, right? That can be talking about some kind of friction or some kind of potential war-related issue or conflict that happens earlier in the month. And so then when it starts to kind of separate and Saturn sits at 0, leadership in the world is going to be reevaluating and reassessing what direction they're going in. I think with Saturn and Neptune, they're a little less externally kind of aggressive. There's going to be a lot more kind of like thoughts and planning kind of going into any military operations or any new kind of like alliances or changes to international relationships. Anyway, I think that, you will definitely see changes with leadership that's going to be heating up. Even if there's not something that happens immediately now, the actions that happen during the Mars-Saturn-Neptune opposition may result in some changes that are going to be coming in the spring of next year. Now, on the 22nd, we're going to see the sun enter into Virgo. So that goes without being said. If you are a Leo born in August, happy birthday. If you're a Virgo born in August, happy birthday to you guys. I hope it's a good one. And this is going to be that that Virgo New Moon. So that'll be happening really early on the 23rd, and 0 degrees represents that fresh start, that seed. So what I was trying to say earlier was if you have anything around, 28, 29 degrees of the fixed signs, okay, this will square you because it's off by 1 degree. And if you have anything around, 0 to 2 degrees of Virgo, it's very personal for you. And definitely I'll do a video for that in the future so you guys can kind of see where the new moon is going to be hitting. I also talk about that in the horoscopes. But on the 22nd, the sun shifting into Virgo is going to be really moving away from Leo's kind of more fiery creative flair into something that's a little bit slower pace. It's going to be more practical. Virgo is mutable earth ruled by Mercury. So this is all about a several week period of refining. We're reorganizing, we're serving other people. And this is like a time where we have to really work through our cosmic to-do list. So it's about getting to work. This will also be the last lunation before we roll into September and we have eclipse season. So 2 weeks later, we're going to be having obviously that lunar eclipse that's going to be in Pisces. Stay tuned. I'm working on my eclipse stuff for you guys for next month. And then at the end of September, we will have a second new moon in Leo, 29 degrees solar eclipse. So first things first is by the time we get to the end of August, we have this new moon. We're feeling it, right? We're feeling like, oh, change is on the way. We're coming into what's going to be eclipse season. We're also seeing that this new moon forms a yod to Saturn and Neptune, as well as Pluto and Aquarius. So I theorize that this is going to be huge for new systems, especially in regards to the service industry, anything in regards to healthcare systems, treatment, and changes with work and with schedule. And that's being brought on by new developments in technology, Pluto and Aquarius, also changes with the collective. And it's also being brought on by changes with like individuals. And I think we're going to see some major shifts in the direction of like where people are actually going to be getting education, training, certification, whatever, for work. And I think a lot of people are going to go into Virgo season being like, I need to change something about the way that I'm working, or I don't like my job, or I need to learn new skills, or I want to switch my schedule, or it can be very health related. Saturn and Neptune is notorious for cycles where there can be collective like health issues. And in Aries, it can be inflammation, sinus issues, problems with the face, issues also with mental health. Obviously, Saturn and Neptune is materialized, I think, for a lot of people that have a lot of rage and anger and frustration, and how that's like materializing and turning into like health problems. So we're going to be asked collectively to focus more on healthier habits. Obviously easier said than done, but at least Mercury is now direct, and it's the ruler of this new moon. And we get a fresh start because it's a new moon and it's at a 0 degree. So Virgo season's teaching us, because the South Node is there, that in order to get healthy, we have to kind of clear out the muck, the gunk. We have to get organized. We have to clean. We have to purify. And something to think about is that this is not only a new moon that forms a yod to all the big players, but it also squares Uranus. So likely there is going to be new information, new news, things that are coming out, new technologies, other things that are definitely going to create some changes in the job markets. I've been looking at these charts for a while, and I've been thinking about like some of the companies that have been issuing mass layoffs. And I don't know if it's happening for economic reasons or if it's happening because we're seeing all kinds of developments in technology and AI and other quantum computing and things that are quite literally doing things that humans used to do. So whether it's like accounting, spreadsheets, organization, some simple tasks, administrative stuff, I have a feeling that we're going to see some actual issues and breakdowns with certain technology. And so if there's been companies that have issued these layoffs because they're like, well, we're bringing in computers and robots to do these jobs, I think you'll see over the next couple of months, there's actually going to be a callback. They're going to be calling a lot of people to come back because they're going to have issues with the technology, or they're going to have issues with how it's actually functioning, and they're going to realize it's not ready, or that there's some errors, or there's some things they still need to correct. So some people who may be losing their jobs or changing jobs might actually be called back into the workforce, right? So then on the 23rd, we have not only the new moon, so like I said, perfect for setting intentions around health and routines. And this is the first of two. So you'll see the second one that's going to be happening next month. And then on the 25th, we're going to see Venus change signs. Venus is going to be moving into the sign of Leo. So extra good if you happen to have Leo, sun, moon, rising, anything like that. Obviously, Venus is going to be blessing you, kind of going through your particular sign. For my Taurus and my Libra risings, your chart ruler's on the move, so pay attention. This is a great placement for Venus. I think that this is really about being flirty, right? Being playful. It's going to be a nice kind of shift at the end of the month. So if you've been feeling that it's been like all work and no play, Venus in Leo definitely says, put something sparkling on, go have some fun. And Venus is going to be making some of the same aspects that we saw with the Sun and Mercury, which oppose Pluto. So right off the bat, there is some intensity revolving around who am I, what do I love, how do I stand out, how can I shine, versus maybe like the evil eye or like things of other people who could be kind of jealous or like envious. So that can definitely be a thing. Very interesting that when Venus moves into Leo, the moon is also in Libra, so it's vibing off of that. And it's meeting with Mars. So it can be also a really intense kind of turning point in relationships around like the 26th, 27th. And that can be kind of saying, well, certain people are getting kind of feisty and they're getting together and they're focusing on relationships and partnerships, and there's some good chemistry going on. While other people are going to say, actually, not so much. There is like a sense of like taking action and kind of severing relationships. Obviously, Venus will be making an opposition to Pluto. So that is going to be bringing up some intensity in the markets. Obviously, Leo is the stock market, and how the collective is kind of reacting and responding to this. But Venus could be a woman. She could be an artist. She could be somebody who's like well-known female leader who's kind of under fire. So like right around the 26th to 27th, that's happening. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing that I said with the Mars, in opposition to Saturn and Neptune. You can either get locked in with the opposition and get into the drama, or you can lean into the trine with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. How interesting that Aries is a sign that wants to fight, right? It wants war, it wants heat and blood and guts and glory. But Saturn retrograde can mean that we're reflecting on, really thinking about things before we react. Really thinking about things before we take some kind of action or before we do something that could actually paint us in a light that doesn't show us in a very mature kind of way. Neptune can also be kind of indicating that there is a sense of us maybe turning away from being deceptive or lying to ourselves, right? Or kind of like wearing a mask and portraying ourselves in a way that we are not. Leo really wants to be authentic. So I feel like with Venus in opposition to Pluto, yeah, you can expect some drama in relationships. But with Venus trine Saturn, if you are mature, if you're committed, if you know yourself, if you're being authentic, if you're being committed to the life that you want and you're holding yourself accountable, well, then love can stay. It can grow, right? Venus trine Saturn can be commitments. It can also be beautiful things revolving around kind of like honoring yourself and what you know that your heart truly wants. And then Venus trine Neptune, which is going to be happening right around the same day, 26th, 27th of August, is a wonderful day for feeling inspired, for, bringing structure and form and vision to something that we love, that's something that we create. And I think that so many of the oppositions to Pluto over the last several months, I think the Mars retrograde, the Mercury retrograde, the Sun, now Venus, is like, Pluto in Aquarius is that the collective is just in this constant state of, trauma, drama. Oh, the news is saying this. There's a war going on here. There's a tornado here. There's this and that happening. To kind of keep us in that perpetual state of fear, right? Because that is the only way to kind of keep us like controlled. Keep in mind, Pluto is also sextiling Saturn and Neptune. So if there is enough fear, if there is enough crime and other things that are going on, it can also put us in this like weird hypnotic state because it's sextiling Saturn and Neptune. So it can make people feel disempowered, disillusioned, angry, confused, divided, separated, and I think disempowered. I think that's really the big theme. And so if we let that happen, then we're going to see more conflict and division. But if we kind of look at it and we go, actually, no, you know what, like I might have a friend going through some drama, or there's this crisis in the world, or there's that's happening. But like, I really love playing this game, or I really love knitting or crocheting, or I really just have enjoyed spending time with my significant other or playing with my kids. Finding ways to shine light on the dark and really stay committed and focused to creating a life of love and creating a life of joy. And then finally, we're going to be seeing on the 28th, Uranus will sextile Neptune. So this is kind of cool, guys, because this is like the first time that we're now seeing all of these planets that are interacting. So we've got Uranus sextile Neptune. It's been sextile Saturn, but sextile Neptune. And we've also got Uranus that's trining Pluto, and Pluto is that's sextiling Neptune. These will be the main energies at the beginning of 2026. Granted, a lot of them are retrograde now, so we're not going to see them, move past the degrees that they've been in, but they've already given us a little kind of glimmer of what is yet to come. With this sextile, obviously this is an aspect that's very subtle, but it's powerful because it's blending the themes of innovation with Uranus and Gemini, with intuition, right? Neptune in Aries. So this is like a lot of people saying, hey, I have a feeling I should be reading up on this subject. I should be traveling to this place. I should be moving to that place. I should be learning about new developments in technology or AI. I should be learning a new language. I should be, improving my social media or my website. And so some people are going to have that intuitive hit that they need to make a move, or they need to make a change, or they need to learn something. And it can be great for journaling. I feel like journaling can give you a lot of insight. Walking or mobility. Gemini can be about a stationary bike. It could be about going for a walk. It could be about going for a jog, listening to a podcast, something where you're moving, or maybe you're like driving and then you have like an aha moment. So watch for that, because I think it's a great time to really dream up creative solutions and really kind of tap into, your inner spiritual side. And who knows, it could be actually really wonderful for content creators, for writers, people like that. So to navigate the latter part of August, I would say use Virgo season to get organized. That's what you want to do. Streamline your routines, declutter your space, and also start that health kick that you've been thinking about. Perhaps doing it right around the new moon in Virgo. If you don't get it this month, you're going to get another opportunity next month. Trust me, there's plenty of stuff in the stars between the eclipses and the Virgo transits that we can get things in order. Now, the new moon is your moment also to plant new seeds for long-term growth. So I'd say write down your goals and make them specific, because it's going to square Uranus. You got to get out of the box. You have to be willing to change your schedule, maybe travel or learn something new. Don't forget that, balance is really important. Virgo obviously is hard work, but Venus is coming into Leo. So you want to have some fun. You want to be able to dance, create, or just kind of bask in your own radiance if you can make time for that. So I guess all in all, to really thrive in August, tying this all together, this month kind of feels like a bit of like a gym session to me, in my opinion. It's challenging, but it's helping build strength. And I definitely feel like clarity is going to be a big one that's going to be this month, and we're going to have more of an ability to shine. During this month with the Mercury retrograde, just reflect on how you express yourself, and with the full moon, remind yourself to kind of balance out your individuality with your role with the collective. Keep your cool when Mars makes an opposition to Saturn and Neptune. Realize that not all things are what they may seem. Take a take a breath and count to 10 before you react to anything. And look at this month as your chance to really kind of start fresh and build something that lasts during Virgo season, setting the stage for what will ultimately be September's eclipses. So August is not about perfection. I think that's also another really big takeaway. It's more about progress. We've got a number of retrogrades: Mercury retrograde, Chiron, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto. So cut yourself a little bit of slack. You don't have to have it all figured out this month, but you do have to show up. So do that by journaling, by meditating, talking to friends when things feel heavy. Definitely celebrate your wins. That's going to be important no matter how small they are. And most importantly, know that there is some kind of method to the madness. You're not just navigating these transits, you're co-creating with them. So your homework for the month, I would say, is, ask yourself during the retrograde, what is your heart trying to say? Come to terms with something that you truly want, something you truly desire, and make time for that. Ask yourself how you can contribute to something bigger, and focus on one small habit that you can really, initiate this month that will improve your life. If it's just cleaning out your junk drawer, maybe it's going to be organizing your car. Maybe you have to kind of clear some files at your work desk. Maybe you have that closet that you've been meaning to kind of tackle. Definitely do those things this month. It's going to help set you up better for next month, so you can kind of keep it rolling and stay focused on organization and, being of service or getting things done. And have some fun with Venus in Leo. Ask yourself, when was the last time that you had time to dance, play, create, put on a fancy outfit? You really want to shine unapologetically with that transit. So with that being said, I hope that you guys are pumped up, you're ready for August, and you're ready to make this month your own. If you guys love this forecast, definitely give me a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell button below. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Make sure that you check out your August horoscopes and drop a comment below and let me know what you're excited for the month of August, especially if you've got a big transit going on or if it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you guys. I read all the comments. I can't always get back to them, but I do respond to the ones that I can. And if you guys want more of these goodies, stay tuned. We're going to be putting out some new content and stuff throughout the month. And until next time, I hope you guys enjoy August. Keep shining. And remember that the stars have your back. I'll see you here soon. Take care.